Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another Innovation Live. And this time we have a very special guest from Israel join us, who is actually Laura, I'm going to do a little teaser, one of our first graduates from the first cohort of our digital healthcare accelerator in Hartford. Okay. And for those of you who haven't met the company and the terrific founder, this will be a great opportunity. For those of you do, stick around at the end because we have some real interesting stories about what's happened since we went into the pandemic. So with that, Laura, do you want to introduce our guest?
Sure. So it's great to be back, and it's great to have you with us today, Avishai, CEO and co-founder of MDI Health. I will turn over to you, but I know that our viewers are interested to learn more about who you are. Tell us about the company, how'd you get started, and what's going on today.
Great, thank you very much, guys. So MDI is tackling the medication-related problems, which is a huge problem in the U.S. As most of us know, it's already been considered as the fourth leading cause of death in the United States. There's an article published in 2018 talking about the $500 billion problem. So there's no doubt about the size of the problem, but unfortunately, this problem just doubled itself in the last 10 years. So there is more and more awareness, but still the current processes and the current eligibility is not enabling every polypharmacy getting the medication review and get it in a very, very standardized quality. And the way NDI was founded was actually from our own need. So my partner is Dr. Doridin Lachlieli, and she was managing the clinical pharmacy services for the second largest HMO in the world. And later she also had an experience as the head of pharmacovigilance in the Ministry of Health. And she also had a clinic that provided personalized medication treatment. So when she started addressing and looking into patients' records and trying to solve their problems, she was managing to get more than 70% success rate in solving their problems.
Wow.
And I'm actually knowing the rate for more than 10 years. And when I was looking at that from the side, I was trying to convince her that there is no reason why she should do it so manually on a one-on-one basis. There is no reason why we cannot develop a technology that can make it accessible and scalable. So MDI started with a very clear mission statement. We want to automate as much as possible the process of generating comprehensive medication reviews in order to make them in a very high quality, but also to generate them in minutes instead of hours. And this is what we have done. And we were very, very lucky and glad to join the Accelerate in Hartford. It's really helped us to understand how the health system works. We currently are doing clinical trials both in Israel and starting hopefully very, very soon in Hartford as well. We already got our IRB approved, and we're very excited about that. And what we're also looking for, and we also a nice pipeline about it, is to pilot our service. We're actually starting as offering as a service that is based on the technology, and actually work on a shared saving model with healthcare in the US. So that's in a very nutshell. We by the way raised money from several VCs, and we're currently closing another round. So we're very, very excited about the future.
Okay. Oh, this is terrific. But Avishai, I mean, what's the big deal? Okay, my daughter, by the way, and this actually is true. She broke her femur in the middle of all this, and my wife reminds me part of the reason why she did when we were out running. Okay, they gave her Tylenol, Celebrex. I mean, I'm just gonna go Google it. Tylenol. Why are you? What are you doing for that? I can't do on Google.
You're absolutely right. So definitely Google, it's an answer for many questions these days. There's no doubt about that. It's the first place that we look, but this is also very, one of the problems with Google and also with the WebMD and other portals that you have there is that most of the systems in the market, what they're looking at is the one-to-one drug interactions that you also have in the leaflet of the drug. So if you are just taking 2 drugs, you can probably find information. But if you are taking several drugs on a regular basis, and it's not just the drugs, it's also the person itself. You also need to understand my history, my medical history. You need to understand my lifestyle, my genetics. You need to understand over-the-counter drugs and my supplements. You need to really look into how this whole thing work on the pharmacology level. So what we do behind the scenes, is that we look on how the drugs behave, their pharmacodynamics, their pharmacokinetics, and then we ask the questions, what might influence the way this drug will behave in this specific patient body? So we had to map all these thousands of influencing factors. Some of these influencing factors could be other drugs because they compete for the same enzyme or compete for the same receptor or things like that. But some of these influencing factors also affect directly the chances for a medical event to happen, such if I had in the past already an incident of a stroke, the chances of me having a stroke again is higher. So we aggregate all this information into a recommendation and what we call, it could be either identification or prediction, meaning that if you take a lot of drugs and you're already suffering from something, in many cases, you don't know that what you're suffering from might be because of your medication. So our system is able to connect the dots and show you causality, but also predict that, for example, if you're going to continue taking this medication cocktail, you are in a very high risk to develop, for example, hemorrhagic stroke. Now, you might feeling very well at the moment. They don't know it. So back to your question, what you find on Google is you need to really understand pharmacology in a very, very high level in order to start translating this raw data into a full analysis. This is why, clinical pharmacists study for so many years, 6-7 years. They need to understand all these things. So just by reading in Google, it's like me starting to say, okay, I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to be a doctor.
Hey, some people think they can.
Yes.
Some people
I don't know what's the result to that, though. You can do it, but you can prescribe yourself, but I don't know what will be the results.
This is fascinating. So, as Paul had mentioned, his daughters had gone through something, and in my family, we have someone who's in their 90s, and they're going through a series of things, and it's all been linked down to medications not interacting properly. And it's been months long, in and out of ICU, the whole 9 yards. And for me, just as a consumer to hear this, it's like, where do I sign up? How do I sign up? I need him in this system, because when you're in your 90s, you're so fragile. It's exciting. And part of me also thinks, wow, how do we not already have this? So for you to bring it to market, I think is amazing. But it's true, and it's slightly dangerous with the information out on the Google or the health sites. It's frightening to think what people might think is true, and then how do you figure it out? So to have a resource like this is phenomenal.
Well, and Avishai, you talked about the speed, right? So what Laura's gone through, if you sit and have to go through multiple meetings with doctors, tests, I think of the damage that can be done, the cost that you can incur. How do you factor, tell us about the benefit of speed here. It must be enormous in costs and problems with people.
It's great that you mentioned it, because I think this is the biggest, if I can, describe the way I see the problem in the US, I split it into two. And I'm trying to choose my words carefully if I'm just because, again, I'm an Israeli, I'm not a native. So if I'm using anything that could be considered the wrong way, so please excuse me for that. But I'm saying that currently, what you have in the US, there's already understanding of the problem, and there's already understanding the physicians are doing the best they can. They're really doing the best they can, but it's impossible for them in meeting a patient every few weeks or a few months and having only 17 minutes to really getting all the information, analyzing it, and monitor the patient over time. So there's already a clear understanding for that. And if you are part of Medicare Part D, and you are taking more than $4,000, again, not on the, it's 4,000 something, but anyway, it's a very high number of costs. You are eligible, and you have a few chronic diseases, you are eligible to get your medication checked. Now, currently, there's two problems the way I look at it. First of all, only small portion of the population are eligible. Okay, there's roughly around 11 million, when there is more than 110 million polypharmacy patients in the US. Second problem is that even for the 11 million patient, there is the reimbursement and allows roughly, if you're getting an MTM, it's probably going to be around an hour. Now, in this 1 hour, the clinical pharmacist has to collect all the information. He needs to analyze it. He needs to document it. He needs to message it back to the physician. And at the end of the day, he doesn't also do a lot of follow-ups. He sends a report, and that's the end of it. So, and this is why MTMs is more about adherence. It's more about, making sure the patient understands why it's so important for him to take the drugs. It doesn't really get to the levels of depth that we are looking at. And currently you have in the US a shift into CMRs, which is comprehensive medication reviews, that does much more into that, looking into the lab tests and looking into more parameters to really analyze the patient. So our vision, by the way, it's not just the vision. This is how we done it in Israel. In Israel, the market works very differently and people pays for that out of pocket. In Dorit's clinic, you went into a clinic. The first step was to ask all the relevant questions, because even if you look in the EHR, you don't know about my over-the-counter drugs, you don't know about my supplements, you don't know about the fact that 5 years ago I had an incident. So we ask only the relevant questions, then you need to analyze it. Now for Dorit and all the clinical pharmacists in Israel, it takes 3 to 4 hours to really analyze a patient in depth. For some reason, and again, I'm not saying it, also clinical pharmacists doing the best they can in the US, but in the US, it's take 1 hour. Now it's not because, and we know the systems out there, it's not, we don't believe this is because the systems in the US are more sophisticated. We believe this is the way it's currently being done. And we believe it can be done in a higher quality if we have the technology in place. So going back to the question, I'm sorry for being a bit around it, but going back, I'm saying, first of all, a technology such as MDI can assist the current MTMs and the current CMR system to do it faster and better. But I think much more importantly, we can make these important reviews accessible for all the rest of the people. So if you're 55 and you are taking 10 drugs, the chances of someone really looking into your drugs, analyzing it in depth is almost null. Only if your health care is really, I don't know, from some reason, you popped out of the population, someone died. There's no reimbursement. There's no reason for him to do that. And what we are saying is a win-win for everyone. We are saying, take MDI, we will start on a population you're not covering, and we're going to show you, we're going to prove you the value, and we're going to show it on real money. We're going to take the total claims cost, convert, split the population that we identified as at risk. We're going to split it between a control group and intervention group. We're going to follow up all the way through. We are not just sending a report. We're following with the patient. We monitor him, and we show you that the total claims cost on our intervention group is going to drop compared to the control group. And that's an offering that I'm not sure many companies can offer, that they trust so much their services and technology. So I hope I answered the question about why it's so important that even though, as you said, Laura, your 90 years old relative, she might be eligible to get an MTM, but we are saying we are not sure if it's in the right quality, and we wanted to make a standardized quality because there's also differences between the clinical pharmacist and the systems they use. But also we're saying not only 90 years old should get it. So
could you take it one level farther and say you have the profile of the individual, say it's this 90-year-old, my relative, you have the profile of the individual and it's the whole cocktail, because God knows it's a cocktail of medication at that point in your life. And what if, is the information accessible? So if that person has to start taking maybe additional supplements or additional vitamins, and maybe it's a better example for someone who's younger, but as the individual's needs change or curiosities, is your system set up in a way, or maybe it's down the line where they can put in something they're interested in, and then the system would be able to kick back and say, no, you can't do that based on this, or yes, here's a recommendation for that. And how great would it be, again, thinking about this 90-year-old, to have reminders go off on the phone to be like, not only are your medications now correct, take the medications, because that's another issue, right? So it's not only knowing what is proper, but then properly doing it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So my answer would split into two. First of all, yes, definitely. Our roadmap includes a monitoring application, that it's not enough that we provide you with a report of, all the risk and what you should do about it. We want you to monitor yourself and to flag on risk as they occur, and to give you a push notification every week asking, does anything change about it? Did you start taking a new drug? Did you start feeling, dizziness? There's many things you don't even tell your doctor, and renewal of drugs happens almost automatically. So definitely this is part of our roadmap. Having said that, we are still, I would consider still an early stage company. So there's the difference between where we're going to go to and what we have already built. And one of the things is that if you want to provide a full automated system, it has to be fully FDA medical device approved. But the way we structured our system is a decision support system. So we still have in the process a clinical pharmacist looking at the outcome of our technology, and he's the one signing it. He can either edit it, he can do whatever he wants, but he's the one signing the report in the end. And why it's important? It's important because first of all, there's no liability. That the professional was supposed to look at your drugs, looked at it. But unlike the current situation, we provide to the clinical pharmacist, both all these information that he needs to save him all the time of not added value activities. So now it takes in minutes instead of hours. So the way I look at it is that we are not at the stage of providing it directly to the patient, even though we might do it in the future. Mm-hmm. But we are saying that our system is able, the way I look at it currently is like a medication treatment quality assurance system. So we run in the background, we will find out if you're at risk. If you're at risk, we will start the intervention, and we will continue monitoring you that we make sure you're not going back into risk. And if you are getting back to risk, so instead of giving you the notification, we will provide the notification back to the professional that might be our personnel or the personnel of the health provider or the health care that you're currently working with. So definitely this is where we're heading. Definitely it's the future.
Okay, fascinating. Avishai, so how did you find the problem and what made you say I should start a company to solve this? Tell us your backstory.
Yeah, so definitely it's all about my partner, Dr. Dorit Nachlieli, and everything she was doing for the last 15 years is about solving this problem. So she's so passionate about, she's reading leaflets of drugs, and it's like me reading the best novel ever. So she's so passionate. Seriously, I'm already, half a page, I'm already asleep, but she's like, her eyes like that. So it's amazing to see her, how fascinated she is about drugs. She's one of the top experts. She's teaching here in the two universities, and she really loves the fact. And one of her problems is that she couldn't solve it from within the system. So she was working, as I mentioned, for the biggest HMO in Israel, which, by the way, considered to be the second largest in the world. And she looked at systems, trying to integrate them and to help them to do a better job. And when she couldn't find a good enough system to do what she believed is the quality she considered to be good enough, she was not willing to satisfy for just looking at one-to-one drug interactions. This is when she started saying, I can do it better. Now, at the beginning, doing it better was opening a clinic, which people came to her, privately. And then she started, and by the way, again, people paid a lot of money for getting these sessions, but in these sessions, she was spending hours. And she got an amazing result, but it took a lot of time. And then again, she started saying, that's not good enough. I should do it at scale. I need technology to help me. And this is where I come in. So I'm, as a friend who managed large operations for global high-tech companies, told her the whole time, listen, it's possible. At the beginning, she said, no, it's not possible. I'm doing this all things in my head. I'm taking so many parameters. You cannot do it with the system. And now if you ask her, and you are welcome to, she will tell you it's impossible to do it without the technology. So we are not, you're not meeting me as a, company that, we got all our product off the shelf. We are still all the time improving and progressing, but we are so proud of what we accomplished so far because our results, and we currently compared it to clinical trial and clinical pharmacists. We took records of patients, we gave clinical pharmacists to analyze, we gave our technology, and we got to such amazing results that we are so proud and we are so confident about the future.
That's great. Well, let's just sort of ask you, okay, so last time we saw you in Hartford, I'm trying to think, when was the demo day? That was...
Yeah,
Bushnell. Was that January or February? I'm trying to think.
It must have been
January, end of January.
Yeah, a phenomenal event. I mean, right, there must have been we filled Bushnell Theater. We're all
together. We're enjoying cocktails, and then we're not.
Social distance, what is that, right? Social distance is how close I can get to somebody. Tell us what's happened since then. You had some great relationships started in Hartford. Tell us, kind of what has transpired since we all kind of went into our various lockdowns.
Yeah. So first of all, the first thing I need to mention is, again, thank you very much for all the people in Hartford Healthcare. They are a great partner, a strategic partner for us. We are so grateful for the opportunity, and we are thankful for the fact that we were able to progress with them. We're working with Sean Jeffries there, who is our PI for the clinical trial that we do there. And the same thing that we mentioned that we do in Israel, we are currently starting in Hartford in order to prove on a clinical trial that we are able to generate the same results as a clinical pharmacist using our technology. And moving forward, we're also looking forward to start a pilot with them, hopefully in their integrated care partner. So Hartford is a very, very strategic partner for MDI, and we're very, very grateful. Aside for that, we got a very good connections. We're in touch also with a few health pairs, and hopefully that will yield also to commercially do a pilots. This process takes more time, so I cannot say yet that everything is finalized. But one of the things that we are currently looking for are for health pairs that are interested in testing our services. And again, it's currently a services, so there is no risk involved. You shouldn't trust the technology we provide it, including clinical pharmacists. So there's only savings to be made. No saving been made, no effort has been made. And we are currently, this is my main call to action here. If there's anyone out there that listening to that right now and is part of an insurance and health per ACO, a program that detect risk, I encourage him to approach us and to start a pilot together so we can show savings for him.
Excellent.
That's great.
Laura, what other questions do we have for Avishai?
You know, I'm just still thinking about my own personal situation.
She wants a personal consult. If you didn't hear that, Avishai.
No, it's good. I would say, if you could picture the perfect scenario, and what the hell is that these days? But if you could picture the perfect scenario and put time aside, put money aside, where would the company be down the road? What is the ideal?
So I think you described it better than I do. If you really look into the future, and again, it's too far into the future, so I wouldn't say to invest right now because it's too far into the future. But I believe the future of health is that everyone is going to have his own health record. Apple is already doing it in a way. You're going to have your own health record, and then you will need MDI to be there to make sure you are not just reminding you to take a medication on time, but making sure you're getting the right medications on time. Mm-hmm. So I do think that at the end, everyone will be real time. It will be, first of all, real time. It will be real time, either real time for the patient or real time for the physician. You need to find the right balance about what you say to who, because you don't want to scare the patient. So it's going to be a kind of an hybrid between, what the physician alert is getting and what alerts the patient is getting, but it has to be a real time. So we want to prevent these problems from even happening. But the way I look at it is gradually. As I mentioned, we're starting as a quality assurance running in the background, and then moving into becoming, full, robust product that is able to cover all the drugs in the world, and then able to also assist in real time. And once you're in real time, this is where it becomes really, really interesting. And you can, as I mentioned, sit on everyone's mobile if it's B2C, and if it's B2B. So again, it's on every physician point of prescription or any pharmacist point of prescription.
Oh, I love the picture you painted. I also, in there is an emotion, right? Like, why don't people take drugs? Why don't they do it? And some of it is, I just forgot, it's too complex. The other, you mentioned fear, and real curious to watch the drug commercials in Israel. I don't know if the laws are the same as we are. You will take this drug and you will have a wonderful sleep. By the way, you may never wake up. You may wake up halfway paralyzed. You may, right. So we've got this wonderful technology. However, here are the 15, horrible things that may happen to you. Is there an element of fear like that in Israel, or is this something that we just have put in front because of the regulations, disclosures here in the U.S.? Or is that common across cultures?
No, it's in Israel. You don't allow to. It's very. There's a lot of rules against promotions of drugs, so it's a bit works a bit differently. But we are not focusing on the Israeli market. So whatever is true in the U.S., that's what interests us.
Okay, got it.
But I would say that I don't think MDI is just one element that will. It has to be built around the ecosystem of many solutions out there that assist. So we think that in the future, again, it's also part of what I believe in the future, we can also add more and more wellness and other features that also make sure you're getting the best outcomes. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, drugs on me will behave very differently on a drug on someone else. So if you talk about diets, if you talk about nutrition, this is all things that will improve the health of people. And if we are already starting a kind of shared saving model of improving the health of people because of getting the most optimal medication for them, there's no reason why we shouldn't be in a position also to start adding more and more services, either with collaboration with other companies or other things to say, by the way, we won't just tell you about the drugs, let me also tell you about nutrition, let me also tell you about other things. So I believe at the end of the day, people would like to get as holistic solution as possible and as personalized as possible.
This is great. Well, Avishai, thank you.
Thank
Laura?
you for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
this is great. We're excited, and when you're able to come back to Hartford, we're excited to see you. And I'm going to keep a close eye. I want to see how the company grows and expands with everything that's going on. And I have so many ideas, so I'll send you an email. But I think a holistic solution down the road is just, it's what people need. So I'm excited about what you're doing.
No, terrifically. Listen, Avishai, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to having you at some virtual events here, hopefully later this fall. So, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us, and tune in again next time for another interesting hour. So, thank you very much.